welcome. Namaskar. You've joined us here on Veer. It's a CNN-IBN special initiative that's being brought to you in partnership with Thumbs Up, Being Human and the American India Foundation. It's a campaign that's striving very, very hard to talk about disability, have a free, frank, open discussion without most of the prejudices and biases that really have crept into narratives when it comes to dealing with people with disability. In today's panel, we're going to talk about skills and employability of people when it comes to disability, some of the key factors that are going to help an individual become independent. But before I go to this fabulous panel who've joined me here on the show, here's a reminder, here's that call to action, here's that reaching out to you and telling you why this particular campaign is going to be incomplete without your help and your support. Through this Veer campaign, we are raising funds that will be utilized to train specially abled people to make them employable. Just remember, all it is going to take is 7,500 rupees, 7,500 rupees to make a person with disability employable. Of course, you're free to donate any amount that you want. For making a donation, call the number that's flashing on your screens. I'll read it out as well, 0120 401 9191. Just a quick repeat, 0120 401 9191. You can also SMS Veer, V-E-E-R to 51818. We are promising a call back within 24 hours of you getting in touch with us. You can also visit our website, theveer.in. It has a complete listing of the initiatives and the talking points of all our panel discussions. Let me, on that note, introduce you to our panelists here. To my left is Meenu Jindal. Meenu, thanks very much for joining us. She's the MD of Jindal Saw and, of course, an inspiration to so many people. On her left is George Abraham. He's the founder of SCORE Foundation, also a part of the World Blind Cricket Council and a disability rights activist. To my right is Jatinder Malhotra. He's the architect of Genesis and an entrepreneur. And to his right is Ruma Roka, founder of the Noida Deaf Society, also a partner with the American India Foundation. George, let me start with you, and let me actually begin with that Supreme Court order of last year that looked at the implementation of this 3% job quota for the disabled. The fact that a top court intervened in a matter that has been pending for what, almost 2 decades, 18 to 20 years. What does this really have to say about the task at hand? How enormous is this task?
Well, the task is huge. The Act came into place in 1995-96. People who are meant to be a 3% reservation was to be implemented right from then. Unfortunately, people didn't do much about it, and that's why the matter was taken to the court. Supreme Court has ordered, said 3 months. Again, 3 months have already happened, and I don't think much of employment has happened. The reason for this, I believe, is there is a huge perception that people with disability cannot be useful in the corporate world or in the government sector. Their ability to work is unknown or not known to this one. People have their doubts. When you talk to DOPT, they just say, how do we employ these people? So that is the first reason. I work with the blind, so let me tell you, when a blind person and a person with low vision comes for a job, they always opt for the low vision person, thinking that that little vision will help them to work. Little do they realize that the ability to work very often is the ability to think, and that cerebral ability is kind of totally undermined when there is a physical disability.
Jatinder, let me come to you, because in our first curtain raiser we had so many narratives of people constantly talking about that not just are they qualified, they're possibly overqualified for the job that they're employing, yet when they go for the interview, the first round of rejection actually comes with their physical disability, or could be their hearing impairment, or perhaps could be their visual impairment. So they're outrightly rejected without even looking at their qualifications.
Yes, that kind of mentality is existing. We can't stop it. We can try to change it, but we can't stop it. You know, people still think that people who are disabled are underperforming because of certain kind of constraints they have in their abilities.
Why did you become an entrepreneur?
Why did I become an entrepreneur? It was by chance, I would say. I'll be very frank in that. I just wanted to do something in life which actually reflects what I can do, what I'm capable of. When we started working, yes, it was a difficult challenge. People used to look at us and look at me, to be very frank, and say, oh, since we are architects, we are supposed to design buildings. And in India, building designing is a difficult part because lifts and all those things we don't install at the starting. So you have to climb steps, you have to do everything which is there to be done. So it was very difficult to convince them that yes, if this building is 8-story high, I can check it out. Not an issue on that. It took some time for us to convince them, but yes, once they see, at the moment I would say that whosoever we meet, it's quite acceptable to us.
Quite acceptable.
Quite, and I think that is the case in most of the places now. People are accepting people with disability, because they are also realizing that this is the brain which is going to be functioning. If as long as that is functioning, disability will not be a matter.
Okay, Sminu, let me bring you in. You've often talked about the fact that you saw people almost gaping at you while you were busy on your wheelchair, working and completely not knowing what the surroundings were. Do you still face that?
Yes, there are still people who are inquisitive. Thank God for that, because I think it's inquisitive minds that decide to make little changes in infrastructure. As George said, and it was okayed by Jitendra too, the biggest hurdle that a person faces is infrastructure related. If I am unable to go for a job, no amount of reservation is going to force. Even in government you can have reservation, in private you don't have reservations. Not that as employers we don't want to hire them, it's just that even if you give out for a call, you want people to join you, they can't show up because they cannot get out of their homes on their own and reach their workplaces with dignity.
What is that big hesitation when there is a candidate in front of them who has a disability of any kind?
I don't think an employer would have hesitation in terms of his qualifications.
Okay.
But what really comes in the way, and I am saying it through personal experience, is attitude.
Attitude.
Employers need to change their attitude for sure. But disabled people also need to change their attitude. They need to stop feeling special, and that they need special okays and special leeways, and because once if it's set that you're employed, you need to deliver the targets for which you're employed.
I want to just get in the first comment from Ruma here. Now your organization is actually trying to get some of the specially able, the disabled people to be more employable. What are some of the skills that you're attaching to them? What are some of the skills that you're helping them with?
See, I am going to be speaking for deaf people only, and this is a disability that is completely cut off from sound. If you shut your ears and just imagine being born in a family where your mother, father, brothers, sisters are all hearing or all talking people. So from that age, skills are not developed. Why it's important to go into some history that from that small age, this child has not learned anything. He's missed out on the discipline, the competing with brothers, sisters, the jokes, the laughter, where we develop social skills. He goes to the schools also, where sign language, unfortunately, the language of deaf people is not accepted. So here is this deaf child who goes through 13 years. I have to give you this background, who just sees his teacher's mouth opening and closing. He just copies down. So these are the kids, when they finish 12th, they don't have any access to any college education in India. So when they finish their 12 years, then they come to us, and when we check their skills, it is 8 to 9 years behind a hearing child. And they come with us with a vocabulary of 40 to 50 words. So we start. Now I can answer how we develop, and you can get some idea. We start really basically from giving them language, and then giving them skills. Just our bit doesn't work. What we've done is we work backwards. We go to the industry and say, hey, are there profiles in your company that do not require any direct customer interface, that is back end, that is non-voice? And are you willing to pilot? Are you willing to start an initiative with a deaf person? And we collaborate with the companies, because what will I train the kids in?
Exactly.
So when we go to the company and they say, yeah, there is.
So what would a company, for example, give us an example of what a company would say that they need?
For example, I would say banks. I just thinking banks is an enormous area. There's a lot of work going on at the back end processes of banks, which does not have to be in like real banking tellers and everything. When we say, and they said, yes, there's check clearance, outward, inward clearance, it's all on the computer. So I said, if we train our kids sitting and clearing checks, which is so visual, these kids have great finger-eye coordination, and these checks, the scan checks comes on those computers, they check, they're verifying the checks, and we start with the pilot, and we say, okay, we will do this, you take. And when they take, the employer normally comes back and say the deaf are so good in these kind of visual tasks, they have zero tolerance to any mistake. See, they're not distracted by sound.
Yes.
So, and they're focused, they're trained and focused on the job, and so they see one little mistake, they will reject it. So,
there is absolutely
it's a win-win.
great merit for
Yeah.
the job that you're doing. But Smina, I want to get in one of your experience, because one of the feedback that I got from the previous show was that you expect us to do only the smaller jobs. You don't want us right up there.
Anubhav, what we have to think is no job is small or big.
Yes.
And it has to start somewhere. Like Roma said, skill sets development is very important. Lots of industries can use deaf and mute children for lathe machines, for a whole lot of carpentry work, stuff that is in front of your eyes. The thing is, if one starts feeling that this job is too low for my qualifications, then one would never reach that area. Everybody has to go through their problem sets to reach at a particular level.
We'll take a quick break here on this special initiative of Veer. We'll come back, and I'll also throw this question open to my panelists about how technology, in a sense, can be a great leveler, and perhaps employers also need to look at that one aspect.
As part of this campaign, we are very proud to be joining hands with Thumbs Up, with the American Indian Foundation, and with Being Human to raise funds for the specially abled, to showcase their stories, and to celebrate their achievements. That's the single point agenda of the Veer campaign. Join us on this Veer campaign, help us raise funds, contribute to it. Let's all make India a country of Veers.
At Being Human, we are also helping towards education and healthcare to get basically people to be well and to be able to function in the mainstream. So when this concept of Veer and disability, helping people with disabilities come into the mainstream came to us, we were very excited about it because it relates to what we do.
Welcome back to Veer. Yes, you're with our CNN-IBN special initiative that's being brought to you in partnership with Thumbs Up, Being Human, and the American India Foundation. Let me go straight back to our panelists. And Ruma, I'll start with you first. We talked about attitudinal change on all sides, etc. From an employer's perspective and a disabled employee who may go in for an interview, what is the one attitudinal change that's required on both sides?
From the employer's side, I think the stereotypical perspective that when you use the word disabled, you just means unable. You know, that is a vague attitudinal change, that disability doesn't mean that the person is unable to do anything. That is one from the employer's side. And also the employers from our side, from people who are working in the community, the grassroots community developers, people like us, I think our duty is to inform the corporates. Most of the people I meet, they say, Ruma, we didn't know. We didn't know deaf people, can deaf people do this? So they don't have a database. They, we have to change their perspective of people with disabilities as a talent pool.
Right.
And then work around that, but there's a big gap, there's a knowledge gap.
Right. What is the change that's happened in your workplace?
Workplace is accessible.
It's accessible.
The thing is, if you just make infrastructure accessible, that is one small little change that I think the whole country needs to do, is to make infrastructure accessible.
Okay.
What a life it'll change if I can just take a bus, catch a bus, go to the place I work, and just roll my wheelchair and get inside there.
Right.
Yeah.
George.
You know, a lot of people make entry-level moves in jobs, but then there was an HR director who came to my office and asked me, we've hired several people with disability in our office. What is their future in the company? And the answer to that is, okay, you've got them in, now are they kind of, do they have access to the systems inside? Like for instance, the MIS, which is all technology driven. You know that visually impaired people have screen reading software which enables them to read what is on the screen. But there is a lot of technology with computers which are inaccessible. There is I don't want to take the name of the company, but there is a big multinational company in Bangalore which hired a colleague of mine and their approach was, we would like you to make our company accessible to disabled so that we can hire more and more people. And he called me back and said, this company is totally inaccessible, but the good thing is that they are willing to change their systems entirely so that they can hire more and more disabled people, because they see value in disabled people.
What would be the one change on both sides?
Again, infrastructure, as she's correctly put, our infrastructure is real bad. We cannot access, as a disabled person, we cannot access anything correctly. She's
Without
talking
an
about,
effort.
yes, she's talking about crossing road. I bet she can't even get down the footpath to cross the road. You can't do that. You can't access. Today BRT has been created. All the bus shelters are with ramps, everything. But reaching that bus shelter is a pain. I think
Now,
the mentality has to change.
In terms of an architect
Sensibility and
change,
exactly.
you can answer it better. How
What
much does
would a
it
building
cost?
need to be
Very little.
barrier free?
Very little.
Well, I don't entirely
Very
agree
little.
with the fact that it's only infrastructural thing. I think there are changes in systems that are called for. When you have a meeting, for example, I think the process of the meeting needs to be modified, taking into account the diversity that's there in the room. You know, if there is a person who can't see or hear in the room, I think it's important for the person who's leading the meeting to ensure that material is available in accessible formats, people are briefed adequately, and the facility to communicate with each other is there. And these are all doable things. These are not this is not rocket science.
I want you to give us one concrete initiative that any corporate can employ to make to seamlessly integrate people who have disabilities into their workforce.
Treat them equal.
Collaborate. Collaboration is the word.
Collaboration.
Yeah, that's one word.
Treat them equal.
Treat them equal,
Yes.
and also put them to the same tests and the same
everything.
expectations.
Exactly. Give them what you're giving the second person. Let them do that. And I think they will do it.
They can do it. Give them accessible infrastructure so they can reach there and show their mettle. I'm not saying that they don't have it to prove it. They have it. Give them a chance by giving infrastructure which is accessible. One ramp changes world.
Okay.
Overall, there needs to be a paradigm shift. The country and the corporate world, the parliament, politicians, everybody needs to now start looking at disabled people as a potential human resource and invest in them rather than merely looking at providing for them, hand-holding them and helping them pass their time. They have ability, talent hai, उस पे invest करो, उसको develop करो, ताकि आगे जाके 10 साल के बाद we don't need to have panels like
discussions like this. I think yes, that would be a great end to this campaign if we don't need a campaign of this nature. But for the moment, thanks very much. Thank everyone for joining us. It's been enlightening, inspiring, and yes, I'm hoping this will enable all of you to bring about that call to action that we've been talking about. Just a quick reminder once again, 7,500 rupees to make a person with disability employable. Get involved, support this campaign. The number is also on your screens. It's 0120-401-9191. 7,500 the minimum, but of course you can contribute any amount that you want. You can also SMS Veer to 51818 and also visit our website theveer.in. This campaign certainly not ending with this particular panel discussion. This campaign continues.